Lep pozdrav še z moje strani. Kot je povedala Nina že v uvodu, bo pogovor potekal v angleščini. So switching to English now, please join me in welcoming again to the stage the director Benedikt Erlingsson.
Namaste.
Benedikt, I think I'm speaking on behalf of everybody when I say thank you for being with us and congratulations on the film. It is indeed a good thing it was not nominated for an Oscar, otherwise you would be in the States right now. So thank you to the Academy for this.
Who needs an Oscar? Oscar is passé.
Okay, compared to your first feature of Horses and Men, which was sort of a mosaic, a series of vignettes, A Woman at War is a much more linear and straightforward story. So how did the idea behind this story come about, and the idea for the main character? And this time you were working with a co-writer, right?
Yes, you know, where do I start? Of course, I could lay down here on a sofa and you can ask me like Freud, where did this start? And you will have another version of this. One version goes that after I made Horses and Men, my colleagues, my friends in Iceland said, yeah, this is a great film. It's a very much festival success, Arta, but it's not a real film, It's more an arty-farty film, And somehow I got stuck in this. I said, I'm going to make a mainstream blockbuster art house film, that saves the world. So it was really, in a way, a mission to make a straight story, a heroic film, an action film. And of course, the subject, when you think about the subject of saving the world, the world needs really saving these days. And action films are really about action heroes that are saving the world. And then, I started to think about this, how do you play around this and in a different way, and make a film that is accessible, just make a film about this complicated issue.
Okay. Music is, of course, is a big and important element in your films, and especially in this one. We see the band present in the frame. They are breaking the fourth wall. They are acting as a sort of like a Greek choir. I think you would normally see on a theater stage. So how did this come about, and what was the process behind it?
Yeah, one of the questions I asked myself, if Fellini would have been hired to do an action film in Hollywood, how would that film be, And the idea came, of course, Artemis would, come down from Earth, saving the world, But, I come from the theater. It's a very easy agreement to make with publicum in theater, to have a band on stage. It really, we sometimes talk about verfremdung, distancing the audience on purpose to help him understand the big concept. But it really doesn't work, because this agreement is so easy to make with publicum. They could really forget themselves. Okay, there's a band there. It doesn't matter. I can go into the melodrama, So it's, the band has many functions, and it's really the reason I really wanted to make this film. It's a way to smile to the audience, and at the same time I think it also makes the subject more serious in a way. It connects us to the subject.
And who are the musicians you work with? And also, did you first make the music and then film it? Or?
Of course, this was the music was really the wild card in this production. I worked with Davíð Þór Jónsson, that is the musician and composer that worked with me of Horses and Men, and we have had long cooperation in the theater. And he is a kind of a genie, so we were writing and making the music already in the development of the script. So I was just, when I am writing the script, I go location scouting, and this time also I was doing work with him. So, and then when the music was there, we really, prepared extraordinarily, because I did not want to end in a trap with a great music, but a scene that I needed to cut, but I couldn't cut it because then the music would be fucked. So I was doing demos of the music scenes. I shot all the music scenes before on just my iPhone or whatever, and edited together, and then we were recording the music before shootings, during on sets, and also outdoors, and so on and so on. So we were really preparing and putting a lot of effort into it. And if you want to do a film with live musicians, talk to me, and I will give you good advice.
Haldora Gerhardsdottir, the main actress in the film. In my view, she's very convincing and nuanced. She's great. I heard you describe it not as an actress, but as an acting being. Can you maybe talk a bit about your working relationship and what she brought to the role?
We go back. We were slaves in this children fabric of the theater in the 80s. We were playing in an Icelandic children play that was about where children played adults and adults played children, like Bugsy Malone in that sense, but there were also adults playing children and we were playing adults. And the concept of this play was domestic violence. This was really Scandinavic pedagogical children play about domestic violence. It was a great success, and we were there stuck in the theater for 2 years every weekend, and then we have worked and then in theater school we were together, and we made our first show together. We became known as actors together. So we are professional siblings, and she is really an acting being. She is famous in Iceland, not only a dramatical actress, big diva on the stages, but she's also very comical. She has a clown figure that is very famous. She does man roles. She does trans. She has played Don Quixote, and she has played even Vladimir in Waited for Godot. So she is really, man, woman isn't the issue for her, and she can be both very feminine and both very masculine. You could just turn her on like this. Be a woman, be a man, it doesn't matter. So she's really technical actress, and she likes to talk about techniques. And it was really funny to work with her there, because she was analyzing the twins through yoga philosophy. So she was really going to the energy level, and yoga and sattvic energy and tamic energy and whatever, and she was making inner models for her, so she didn't have to act anything, just change the inner model. So it was very beautiful to work with her.
Was she also involved in the writing process to some extent? In the writing process?
No, she was really not involved in the writing process. I had other ideas for a while, but I came back to her later. No.
Anybody from the audience has a question at this point? Not yet. We have microphones on the balcony.
Please, one question from the audience.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. This is an icebreaker, then everybody will have it.
During the screening, I was thinking about Kusturica, and you were also saying about Fellini. So I was all the time thinking about some atmosphere from Kusturica, and from the last shot, I was really similar to one scene of Time of the Gypsies. So maybe I was thinking about, since we are now in the Balkans, do you have some, ideas where we're doing the movie maybe about Fellini and Kusturica, the atmosphere?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, of course, Kusturica has a band in his, like in his film, but they are often part of the reality of the film. They are like part of the story. But he is a great inspiration in his freedom and his playfulness, and of course, Fellini too, yeah. So I've been influenced by these filmmakers, and maybe Pasolini also. You can see that more apparently maybe in Of Horses and Men.
It reminds of like Canterbury Tales and stuff like that.
Decameron and so on. Yeah, I think there is some freedom in the storytelling. It's really interesting because film is a very young art form, and yet there are a lot of besserwissers that know how to make films. But it's so refreshing to go back to the masters and see how free they were. We can easily be stuck in a schema.
Maybe another question from the public? Up there, on the balcony.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask you, since I can see the music is a very important part of your films, do you see the music more like a means to manipulate the viewer, or it's more like something that can enrich the viewing of the film?
Yeah, in a way, I have a problematic attitude to music. I'm very obsessed by it because it's really a very simple and also brutal way to manipulate the audience and how they look at it. I feel sometimes when I'm putting music on my films, I'm making my films third time again. I can change everything. I can change the perspective and totally. I can like put new feeling of a picture, and it's really both beautiful, but it's also scary. And I have developed irritation towards film music. In many films, I often say very good films, but I think they are ruined by violin strings and film music. And Hollywood is a good example of how stuck they are in that sense. And yet there is. So, for example, in my films, these two films that we can talk about, they're really, the music is banal in some sense, that we are doing that is not supposed to be done. It's Mickey Mousing, as they talk about in music, like Disney Mickey Mousing. The music is saying the same as the picture. Really, not always doing contrapunct.
Just emphasizing what you.
Yeah, emphasizing what you're seeing, making tension. Now this is a tension scene. Now we make tension. And usually, as a filmmaker, you want to open up. Or a storyteller, you want to make a contrapunct. You want to open up in the audience new space by doing, put a new music that opens up, that is in kind of contradiction to the picture. So that is, of course, also a beautiful way. So I'm really, playing with that, and in this sense, I could do this visually. I could take out my frustration visually by showing the band doing the Mickey Mousing, and open up with the choir. Yeah, but it's interesting. We could talk all evening about music and films here, I think.
Maybe another question? One more up there?
Hi, thank you. I would like to hear perhaps more about the environmental battle. So, since she seems slightly defeated in her battle, but maybe some of your thoughts how you included this environmental warrior figure, because at the end, perhaps this ending is slightly left in the air, or perhaps to the interpretation of the viewer. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in the end, this is an attempt to make a tableau. We are in the middle of the river, and we are carrying our children into the future. Will we pass this river or not? It's not answered here. So it's also kind of Baptist. I'm very optimistic. I think, the climate change is a beautiful challenge for this generation. That is, of course, the last generation that can do this, and we just have to, we have to change our lifestyle, and it's beautiful. It's good. It's a good lifestyle that is waiting for us. We have to, get the state into the boat. State power has to be used to make this the producer's problem, not only the consumer's problem. And it is doable, but we have to do it now. And it's later we can look at, we are the generation that turned the boat. Well, if we fail, we should at least fail fighting in the battle. But because the option is apocalyptic, that is in front of us. But the way is bright. I'm just waiting for the politician that comes, and says to these voters, vote for me, and I will make sure that you will get less of everything. I know he will come, because that is what we need. And he will say, and then he will continue, you will get less stuff, but the stuff you will get will last longer and will be repairable. Are you with me? Yeah, I say. And you will get less, and then he will say, and you will get less meat, maybe 2 times a week, like your parents, Are you with me? Yeah, they will say, And less travels, slower foods, It's a nice life, if to make your life longer, and I will, because you're sacrificing, I will throw into it more culture, film, dance, sex, love, cinema, whatever. More games for you. This is the pitch of the politicians, and they must be there, and we must vote for them, and keep them, on. Because it's really, it's a strange paradox. We are industrialized society. We are here because of industry, and we are capitalistic society. Growth is the mantra, the religion of our system, and yet this is taking us to the Stone Age. And now we have to find a new kind of growth, a carbon-free growth. It's a beautiful challenge. We are very lucky to be the generation to do this. So.
No, but also I think what this story very nicely shows is that like a very local act, such as like cutting the power lines to this one plant in Iceland, has much wider ramifications. The Americans get involved with the surveillance, the international businesses hurt.
The Israelis also.
Do you consider yourself an activist?
Yeah, I don't tell it to anybody, but I chained myself to a whaleboat in Iceland for 24 hours. Yeah, but of course, he is very inspired. Activism is not only about saving or winning the day in the news or in the media, but that can easily be turned around. Real activism that attacks a system and establishment and culture is putting economical pressure, like Mandela with sabotages, and his movement, like Gandhi, It's peaceful, it's non-violent, but it is with economical pressure. Like the worker unions, fight for the rights of the workers with strikes, economical pressure, economical sabotage. So if the governments are not reacting on immediate threat that is approaching, they will get their sabotage. It's obvious. They will get, radical society. It's the fundamental duty of governments to react against immediate threat. If they don't do it, they lose all authority. And then you have whatever. And that's dangerous. So we should really press on governments to react, state to take and make this the producer's problem, not only the consumer's problem. Sorry, do you think I will be arrested after this?
Maybe another question from the public? No?
Maybe somebody was listening. Let's get out.
Maybe you're the politician. Of course, parallel to this story, there is also the storyline, like the woman up there mentioned, of adoption. Those scenes at the end were shot in Ukraine.
Yes.
Why did you choose Ukraine?
Well, because Ukraine is a very industrial country, you know, with a lot of energy. It's for Icelandic perspective, or from my perspective, it's far away country. And it also has a beautiful song tradition, you know, like in Bulgaria. They have this Diabolis in Musica in their choir tradition. So there were a lot of things that came together, and the child was, you know, it's also country in war or a conflict. Whatever you choose, conflict or war. It's, if you're Russian, you talk about conflict. If you're Ukrainian, talk about war. So there were a lot that came together there.
You talked a bit about these genre labels, because I heard people talk about this film. They say it's like an eco thriller, an action film, a fairy tale, a comedy. Do you think in terms of genre when writing and directing?
I really don't. I thought in the term of fairy tale. That was when I was writing, I said we'll make a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale. And then we were shooting it. I was thinking, how are these action films done? So I was starting to look at action films on Netflix. And Netflix, my algorithm in Netflix is like only action films. I cannot see anything. There is no offer other than action films now. But you know, you can say genre for me is something I don't work with. I think we should make us a little bit free. Well, it's like making a baby. You know, when you are making a baby, you are not thinking about the sex of the baby. You know, that has to become later. You know, you're just making the baby, and then when you see the baby, you can define it's a boy or a girl. You know. So I think it's not fertile to think about it, but of course when you have to pitch it and sell it, you make your genre stamps. So I made this. You know, this is an environmental action art house thriller with a lot of music. It's something.
There's a good chance an American remake will happen.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about this? Do you still think it will have no death, sex, and what else was it?
It's Madame Jodie Foster. It's going to make a remake of the film. She's going to play the main role and direct in the film. And I think she is very suitable for it. I would have cast her myself, in the role. And so I don't know when it will be produced, but hopefully soon. The Americans need to get their own served version of this. They have not the capability to watch other films on other foreign language. So, but I think really, it's a blessing that this film is served for them. If somebody needs to see the film, it's the Americans. I think they could.
Do we have another?
Thank you very much for this great film. And two things. I loved it also very much after for many years I haven't seen, or decades, this kind of Parajanov a little bit style. Did Parajanov influenced her? Sergei Parajanov.
No, I don't think so. I maybe, but I don't. I'm not connecting. Sorry, I am so badly educated. I'm from theater,
so Parajanov. Look, he's using also that kind of a little bit like this Ukrainian musicians are also on the way how they come and disappear and so on. This is what was the name of the film? I forgot. Now I forgot the name of the film. What?
I will Google.
Yeah.
The color of pomegranate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So beautiful. So it came alive. So from the back, and I really loved it because maybe I haven't seen this kind of influence for 30 years in a cinema. And like you said, it's everything connecting. And the second thing, you said action film. You want to make an action film with a woman. Maybe you can tell us a little bit your relation to. I mean, it's a woman character, what is of course great. And maybe a little bit your thinking about this thematic woman. Also in your country, and
Yes, I think, in my country, or in my perspective, women are, especially women around 50, are constantly saving the world. They have been in my life, from starting with my mother and grandmothers and daughters and wives. So I'm surrounded with very strong women in my society. We had a first female president. We have 2 prime ministers and politicians, and so it's not an issue in a way, and it's not an issue for me that this is a woman. It's very realistic, because it's really the case in the environmental battle. There are often women fighting the fight and paying the price. Berta Scheres, Berta Scheres would be, yes, she is from Honduras. She was an environmentalist that was assassinated just 2 years ago, and protecting her valley. And in Icelandic history, we have a lot of women heroes, suffragettes from the other century, and even from this century, fighting for the highlands. And so women are really frontal fighters in the environmental battle, both in Iceland and I think all around the world. So that was really, an obvious thing. But then there is another dimension of this, that is, of course, Artemis, the protector of the wild and the innocent, and and even you can say there is another archetype behind this character, that is Pippi Langstocking. She has been very influential in Scandinavia and in my country. So it's also, so I think it's, yes, I paid tribute to Pippi Langstocking and Astrid Lindgren.
Anybody else? Then I'll finish off with my last question, which is, are you working on any future projects at the moment?
Yeah, I'm doing a theater production now that I start on Monday in National Theatre, new Icelandic play, and then I will be starting to concentrate and writing on my new script. I don't know. It's the newest title I can tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just found a new title on it yesterday. I've not told anybody. Shit, now my producer, Marianne Slott, will say, I heard that you had a new film, It was in the Slovenian papers. It's called this, Okay, the new title was Normal Men. And then the subtitle was Romantic Tragicomedy. See what goes.
We're in for a treat.
Yes.
I hope we'll show it.
Thank you.
Well, I propose we...
Thank you.
Najlepša hvala, pa vsi vabljeni še na kozarcu vina v našo kavarno. Hvala.